The Real ResQ podcast is brought to you by SR3 Rescue Concepts, because you don't know what you don't know. Is your agency or company looking for helicopter training? Or maybe someone to come audit your program? How about a standardization and safety check? Or maybe just an annual FAA refresher? Look no further, because SR3 Rescue Concepts has what you need. They are here to help your program succeed, to keep you up to date with the current techniques, rules, regulations, and equipment. The training staff is top-notch, with certified flight instructor pilots and experienced crewmen that can provide training in rescue, tactical, and firefighting operations, as well as night vision goggle use and more. As part of the Petzl Technical Partner Program, they can also provide personal protective equipment inspection courses and training on the highly specific Lizard, made specifically by Petzl for helicopter use for cliff rescue operations. Another great advantage of SR3 Rescue Concepts is they go beyond the helicopter world. They have training programs for high-angle mountain rescue and their tactical medicine training program, which is structured around fundamental training for tactical combat casualty care and tactical emergency casualty care. To top it all off, they offer a safety audit program, a third-party review, fact-based and unbiased, to ensure any operation is functioning as safely and efficiently as possible. Contact them today at sr3rescueconcepts.com. Again, that's sr3rescueconcepts.com. And over on Instagram at sr3_rescue. That's on Instagram at sr3_rescue. You just make sure when you send them a message, you tell them, Quinny sent me here, and they will certainly take good care of you. I had a great time with our next guest coming up. Man, we had a really good, fun conversation. So I'm super psyched about this. And it's fun to find people that you can talk to, that you can relate to, and that you share that same passion of search and rescue with, and everything that we do in order to save lives. So our next guest that we have coming on is a technical search and rescue winchman. He's been doing this for just about 20 years. He works in Dublin, Ireland with CHC Ireland. Please welcome Mr. Derek Everitt. My name is Jason Quinn. I am United States Coast Guard Rescue Swimmer number 500. These are my rescues and rescues from those of us that put our lives on the line every day so others may live. This is the Real ResQ podcast. Hello, Derek. Welcome to the Real ResQ podcast. How you doing?
Afternoon, Jason. It's good to be with you. In a very wet and windy Ireland.
I think
you're in warmer climates than I am.
I am in warmer climates at the moment, but that's okay. Someday I'll be out there, and when I get out there, I'll make sure I take you out for a beer.
Absolutely. A couple of guys now I've met over the years have all passed through Ireland, and we've all caught up for beers. So it's definitely you can call in anytime.
Oh, I dig that. I like that. Well, hey man, thanks for coming on. I certainly appreciate it, and I know all the listeners out there, they're going to enjoy this as well. So, but if you don't mind, give a little background to yourself and who you are and where you come from.
Sure. My name is Derek Everitt. I'm a technical search and rescue aircrew winchman, winch operator with CHC Ireland. I've been with them for just under 20 years now. And prior to that, I would have been in the Irish Defence Forces, first as a soldier. And then I kind of got into search and rescue after about 7 years as a soldier, decided to try something new. I got into search and rescue at that stage back in 1997. I worked for CHC on contract to the Irish government on a government search and rescue contract. And CHC has held the contract since 1998.
Nice.
Comes up for tender every so often. So that's kind of my background, and that's how I got into it. I got into it through the army, basically, which would be a fairly general route back in the day for people to go from into search and rescue. A little bit different these days because not a lot of people are doing it in the military anymore. So we could probably talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because a lot of that, even in our military, they're it's interesting to see how many people transition from, let's say, the Marine Corps or the Army or somebody like into the Coast Guard. and now all of a sudden they're going from killing guys to saving them. So, and I hear a lot. So,
Yeah, and we'd probably take it one step further. We go from the military for all the bits and pieces we do into search and rescue in the military, and then I would have transitioned along with a lot of guys I work with into the civilian end of things. So civilian search and rescue, which is what search and rescue predominantly is. It might have started off in the military, but civilian search and rescue for state is what most countries in Europe are starting to look at, either doing or looking at the moment. So that's why it's very important for us to kind of, get a pipeline of people to come through, because the military aren't producing them anymore. So companies have to go and make new search and rescue technical aircrew, which is a fairly big endeavor in itself.
Yeah. Oh, heck, that's a whole nother conversation in itself. Just how to get guys to be at the level that we are at and the experience that some of us have from military or other backgrounds. So,
and I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's all about experience. You can have all the shiny kit you want, but if you don't have the experience behind you or the experience around you, you're definitely going to fail or suffer badly. That's the reality of this job, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. And it even go a step further is you look at some of the training. I know the training that I went through with the Coast Guard was ridiculous, and for me it was one of the hardest things that I've ever done. And I'm very proud of it. And I don't want to go through it again, but my gosh, it was legit.
It was legit, and likewise for me, because it's the military, they can gather up 200, 150 guys, drag them in, and basically beast them until they get what they want. And if they don't want any of them, they just send them all back to their unit. And I've seen that. I've seen that several times. And a lot of search and rescue from the way I went through it, a lot of it was, okay, your ability is a major part of it, but the bigger part of it is, do you have a broad base of knowledge, common understanding, and can you fit into a crew room? Because if you can't do that, you ain't coming in regardless of how fast you can run or how fast you can swim.
Yeah.
Doesn't make a blind bit of difference. Personality has a huge part to play, particularly for technical search and rescue aircrew.
Agreed.
So
very much so.
We're trying to translate that into doing that now with guys who've never been in the military, and they're looking at you sideways. They don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, I find that as well. And then you're looking at, oh gosh, that's again a whole nother conversation, because then you get into it like even a mindset. And that's there's another podcast out there called Rescue Swimmer Mindset, and they get into that. Even Navy SEAL stuff and pararescue and U.S. military special forces guys. You have to have a mindset in order to get into any of this. You can't be a quitter, because that's not an option. So.
No, it's not. You know that yourself. We touch up against all those different types of personalities, but at the end of the day, you have to get tick with it. You have to get it done, regardless of what's in front of you. And sometimes, as we say to some of our guys that are coming through now, you have to. It's a little bit agricultural. You just have to grit your teeth and get it done, whichever way you need to get it done. Yeah. Because at the end of the wire, you can't pull over to the side of the road in an ambulance, or you don't have a fire. You don't have a fire crew coming to back you up, or police to come back you up, or you are it. Get on with it.
Oh God, I love it. It's so beautiful, because it's just on every side of the world, we all have the same mentality, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, it is. I've sat and talked to some of the same people and I know over beers, and I would be crying laughing at the similarities in the same type of job, exactly the same thing. And you're going, did that happen to you as well? Absolutely. Do you have such and such a pilot do this all the time? Absolutely. How do you speak to him? Well, I say this or I say that. Yeah, look, we're the hybrid in aviation. I always say that to people. There's engineers and there's pilots, and then there's the bit in the middle, and they don't know what to call us. And that's technical. That's aircrew.
That's us. Oh my gosh.
That's us.
Oh my God, I love it. All right, Derek. Well, I'll tell you what, if you don't mind, just let's get into a little bit of your first rescue, or the first one you really remember. Now, let's start with your first one, because that's always kind of the most fun. You don't know what you're doing quite yet, and you still get in there and get the job done. So what was your first rescue?
Yeah. God, the first rescue I did would have been a mountain walker, mountain climber with a broken leg. The aircraft was an Alouette, if you're familiar with them, French Alouette, single engine, very versatile aircraft. Hydraulic hoist not sorry, an air-driven hoist off the engine. So was temperamental to say the least at times, but a very reliable aircraft, very small aircraft.
Yep.
And I was only qualified probably 2 weeks, my first duty, with a guy I still work with today. I was only on with him last week. That's how long I'm working with these guys. And that was 1990. That was 1998. And that was my first rescue. Guy was out walking with a group of people, went over a simple fracture tib fib. Plenty of pain relief, and up he went. And that for me, that was it. And ever since then, I probably have done, I don't know how many of those types of jobs, and every one of them is different because the casualty is different and all the other stuff, all the other variables that we deal with are different as well. But that was my very first job. And I still remember to this day, I still had the logbook where I did it. And every now and again, when I get a few, I show the kids and they go, oh God, are you that old? So,
and then you look at my kids. If you do the same thing I do, I look at my kids and be like, so when you go to school black and blue, are you going to say an old man did that to you? Or are you going to say your dad did that to you?
Yeah. Listen, my wife just checked me all the time. You can't say that to kids. You just can't say that because they might say it to somebody else. Yeah. And it's that mentality of, soldier, technical search and rescue aircrew man, there are no frills and all the corners are kind of sharp.
Just don't call me old and we'll be all right.
Just call me old. We're all cool.
I love it. Awesome. So, good first case then. It kind of gets the blood pumping and getting you wanting more. It
does.
I mean, that's
with
me.
It does, but you have, same with you probably as well. And you have to be on with an old head to kind of, calm down there. Let's just take our time here. And as you go through your career, you often kind of you start saying, calm down there, take your time, let's take a look at this. And you're not just talking to yourself, you're talking to your new rescue swimmer or your new technical, your winchman or your new pilot. Yeah. You become that kind of link between everybody then. And you kind of move the crew along. I'm sure you've seen it. I've seen it, that the winch operator, probably the most experienced person in the aircraft. So he's trying to join up all the moving parts of the crew as well and advocate for good decisions both on the ground and in the air.
Yeah. And I've seen a lot of things where, a winchman, they have to get experience too. So you got to start at ground zero at one point or another in your career. And, to have all those moving parts, when you get into training people, it's like, hey, listen, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Take your time. We're not in any hurry.
Absolutely.
Here. So, but
if you could bottle that up, you'd have a perfect recipe for teaching a lot of things.
Yeah, right.
And that's the way I'd look at that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree too. I mean, there's just so much to be learned from the slow down, everything you do, just slow down. And when you get into night rescue, slow down even more because now it's like, whew. But anyway.
Yeah. It's a big difference.
Yeah. Well, you sent me this write-up here, and actually it's an award, the nomination for Goodrich SAR of the Year Award of 2018 for Europe. So I am going to bore you, and I'm going to read this entire thing, which is pretty long, and then we're going to get into it, if that's all right with you.
Sure, absolutely, Jason. Work away.
Okay. Well, in that case, let me go back to the top to this thing and say, all right. So nomination for Goodrich SAR of the Year Award for 2018 Europe. CHC Ireland Coast Guard Helicopter Rescue 116 Dublin base. Over the period of March 2nd to March 3rd, 2018, the Dublin-based Coast Guard Rescue Helicopter 116 was tasked 5 times, almost back-to-back, to assist the recovery of casualties in need of urgent medical treatment. This was due to the unprecedented snowstorm, Emma, which affected the entire east coast of Ireland. This weather system paralyzed all land ambulances and greater Dublin area along the eastern regions of Dublin's commuter belt. Dublin Airport, which is where the rescue helicopter is based, was closed for the 48 hours. Marine Rescue Coordination Center Dublin tasked the rescue helicopter following a request from the National Ambulance Service on March 2nd to assist a person with chest pain and possible head injury in the position of 8 miles southwest of Courtown. Where is Courtown? How far is that? Is that right outside of Dublin?
No, it's about 50 miles south along the coast. It's if you look at a map of Ireland, it's not very big compared to the States. So it's about 50 miles down south of us along the
All right.
coast.
So you're leaving out of Dublin, going to Corktown, which is kind of a flight. It's a good ways.
It's a good trek down. I think they would have went out and followed the coast down. So we get out coastal. We're a SAR aircraft. If you're over the water, you're kind of safer than driving over the land and dodging snowstorms and mountains. So we just go coastal, get down there, and then try and turn inland to find out where we're going to get to.
Wow. Okay. Well, now I have an idea as to where we're going. Thanks. So the rescue helicopter routed coastal to Corktown. Rescue helicopter was unable to proceed inland due to weather. So the helicopter remained offshore abeam Corktown and advised the coordination center that that at that time we would be unable to track inland. The coordination center updated casualty position, which placed casualty further inland. Due to the deteriorating weather, the rescue helicopter was stood down and returned to base. The weather over the next 12 hours preceded enormous snow showers, which cut off most of the small towns and villages to South Dublin. At 0500 on the morning of March 3rd, the rescue helicopter was again tasked by the coordination center to evacuate an 81-year-old female with an uncontrollable nosebleed from her home in a small village at the foot of the Dublin Mountains. In poor visibility, snow showers, heavy winds, the rescue helicopter located the casualty's house. Oh, yeah, that's what it said. Okay. Due to the huge snowdrifts, rescue helicopter elected to deploy the winchman close to the casualty's house as possible. Winching from over 80-foot hover, the winchman was deployed into the field in front of the house and promptly disappeared into the 10-foot snowdrift. A 10-foot snowdrift.
This is a rare thing for Ireland. I think the last big real snow we had was in 1981. We don't get snow here that often. It's very wet, but it isn't very snowy. So when I went down into the field, when I went into the field, I disappeared. It was like being inside a milk bottle.
And then you're looking up. You're like, "Which way does it go? I don't know which way to go."
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was a hand signal. It was a hand signal, not in the book. Get me out of here. And basically. Lifted me up out of it, and then I think they seen a fence post and they realized that was a fence post. There must be a road close to it, so they popped me onto that into about 5-foot snowdrift, and then made my way up to the house from there.
Holy cow! Jeez.
Yeah.
All right. On reaching the casualty, who was weak due to blood loss, the winchman and the assistance of the local mountain rescue team controlled the bleeding. Recovery of the casualty was effected via the double strop lift from the front garden of the house to the helicopter, which was an 80-foot hover. Due to the location of the team winched between power lines and large trees on each side of the aircraft, the casualty was flown to the Dublin airport for onward transfer to the closest accessible hospital. Immediately, the rescue helicopter was retasked to evacuate a 6-year-old boy with suspected meningitis. Rescue helicopter hot fueled, which for all of those who don't know, it means the helicopter is still running, still turning. They never actually shut it down. So if you're driving a car up to a gas station, you just leave it running, which is totally illegal, but not for a helicopter. Booyah. All right, so the rescue helicopter, hot refueled and routed directly to the casualty's location. However, while en route, the rescue helicopter was retasked again to a 12-week-old baby who had become unresponsive and stopped breathing. Weather conditions were poor with low cloud, localized snow showers, and strong easterly winds. Again, on arriving on scene, rescue helicopter deployed the winchman from a high hover due to the large amount of houses, aerials, and buildings. The winchman was deployed in front of the garden of the house nearby due to the overhead wires and at the casualty's home. The casualty was one of a twin who had become distressed and stopped breathing during the night. However, he could not be taken to the hospital by road due to the village was cut off due to the snowdrifts. Once stabilized and packaged, the child rescue Vallis?
It's it's called a child rescue valise. It was specifically designed by the company that make our strops.
Okay.
There's a picture of it there, and it's like for all intents and purposes, it's like a sports bag with a cover over it, so you can actually look in, and it's very well constructed. It's made out of parachute materials, and it's a really decent rescue item. Very rarely used. You can use it for dogs, and you can use it for babies, and all sorts of things like that. So the little lad went into that. Basically, there's a picture of it there on the thing.
That's the this yellow one in with the baby.
That's right, yeah. This is the yellow one. Yeah, in the baby. That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be square with you. I've actually never used that piece of equipment. So, how big of a person?
Designed, well, look, you probably get maybe a 1-year-old child into it. I've seen jobs where guys have used it for people out walking with dogs. They don't want to leave the dog behind.
Yeah.
It's a large size sports gym bag which is made out of the same material as our rescue straps, and it's got the same D-rings, carabiner connections. Very sturdy piece of kit. And as I said, yeah, perfect for this job.
And it's called the valise?
A valise. Valise. It's
valise.
Valise, okay. Yeah. That's the manufacturer's name.
Okay, cool. Very cool. All right, so the child rescued by the rescue valise, and the baby and the mother were again winched from the very confined area at the neighboring houses from the front garden. Freaking awesome. And again, the casualty and their mom were flown back to Dublin Airport for onward to hospital for treatment. Following a handover of the casualty, the mom from rescue helicopter was retasked again, because why wouldn't we be? The new duty crew took over the rescue helicopter and was beginning to get refueled. The next task was to evacuate a 6-year-old boy who was still awaiting transfer to the hospital. Again, the casualty was located in a small village to the south of Dublin. As previous, the winchman was deployed over a build-up hover area over 100 feet to a location as close as possible to the casualty. On onset, it was deemed more appropriate to recover the young boy via the stretcher lift. His mom was winched up first, followed by the winchman and the stretcher. So that means you guys are doing a double up, so stretcher and victim or patient.
We always do. Yeah, always. We don't send anything up. So it'll be when a stretcher. When you go up the stretcher, it's a double up. It's you and the casualty in the stretcher, and it's probably the same stretcher you guys use. It's an LSC with titanium.
Yep.
Stretcher, really good piece of kit. Almost soldier proof. We've we put them through an awful lot of abuse.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a double up.
So I do a lot of double ups now. That is not a standard Coast Guard method to extract somebody in a litter. They'll send the patient up in the litter first, and then the Coast Guard guy will come up after. But now
was that because you guys have a corpsman in the Coast Guard, so you've obviously got somebody to treat them as soon as they get there? Would that be the rationale for that?
Not really. Most of it is because when you're leaving with the patient, there's nobody on deck to tend the trail line or the tag line. So you have nobody. Yes. So it's like, you're going to send the patient up. I'm going to stay on deck to tend the tag line. And when when the patient gets up, so the hoist operator, the winchman will pull the litter in and then send the hook back down to get me. And then I'll go up to the helicopter and treat the patient. So that's
interesting, because a lot of our jobs, any of the jobs we would actually use whoever's on the ground, and we give them a quick lecture, and 6 times out of 10 they'll get it right. That kind of way.
Yeah.
But where we always double up. We won't. If we're doing an evacuation of a vessel, we'll send them up 2 at a time, and the last one off the deck will be the winchman and another. And the winchman will always tend the tag line or high line. But generally, when we've got a boat crew there, we'll just teach them how to use it really, really quickly. Yeah. And plenty of hand signals and pidgin English, and shouting and screaming, and you kind of get your message across.
Yeah. Like I said, I do it now, which is, I think it's a much better method, especially because you're with the patient the whole time. So if anything happens with the aircraft, at least you're leaving with the patient, and they're not leaving without any medical anything on the aircraft. So, and
I think we both know that can happen as well. So that's exactly right. You're still on the wire with the patient. So I think you go as a package, and you've got some chance of, imagine having to leave in a hurry with just a stretcher underneath you and a poor casualty in it. I don't know how that would happen. how it would feel for the casualty.
Yeah, right. You see, what had happened was, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
but all right, so I'm going to keep going here. So let's see.
Sure.
The winchman and the stretcher went up to reduce the height of the hover to as low as safely possible. The rescue helicopter maneuvered very close to both buildings and aerials. Weather conditions throughout the morning and afternoon of March 3rd remained very poor. Rescue helicopter recovered back to Dublin Airport via the ILS approach, which is basically it's all instrument approaches to get back into the airport. For those who, like, there's VFR and there's IFR, and the ILS is all instrument landing stuff in the helicopter, and pilots know how to do all that stuff. It's amazing. So the casualty and the mom were then transferred to the hospital by road. Once refueled, rescue helicopter was again retasked to the mountains to evacuate a 71-year-old male who required immediate dialysis and again was unable to be transferred by road due to the conditions. On arrival, rescue helicopter was informed that the local farmers had cleared a section of the road, and following several overflies of the area, the rescue helicopter elected to land to recover the casualty. So now I'm picturing this in my head right now. The farmers are out there basically digging a hole that's got to be 100+ feet in diameter for this helicopter to land. Is that pretty accurate?
That's exactly how it happened. That's exactly how it happened. This is rural South Dublin, and probably as you've often seen, communities can get together really, really quickly when they need to, and that's what they did. They basically got out with their little tractors and started driving up the road, moving snow, opening gates, getting us access, and clearing an area for the helicopter to land. And any crew worth their salt will always land before they winch if they can. If that option to land is there safely, always take it. Winching might look great and all the rest of it, but it's definitely the last option in land, and that's what they elected to do on that particular job, because the locals basically made it happen for them. That's basically it.
Buddy, that is insane. That is awesome. Like the way a community comes together to do that's awesome. So the helicopter lands. Happened, yeah. So the helicopter lands in an area that the farmers, set up, and you take the 71-year-old right to the hospital. That's awesome.
That is exactly how that happened. Exactly how it happened.
Wow.
And the area is as rural as it's pretty rural, and as I'm sure as you've read through all of those jobs, they're all land-based ambulance jobs, every single one of them. But when you don't have an ambulance anymore, and you need to get people to hospital, it just shows that if you don't have that capacity, particularly in Ireland, you really get cut off really quickly. No problem at all.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow. So you guys, basically over the course of a 2-day period, you were flying almost nonstop, like just rolling one to the next to the next. That's impressive. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's basically that's how it happened. And just to rewind slightly about Storm Emma, sure. I was in America at presenting at the Goodrich conference on February the 27th and 28th.
Yeah.
And I went to the opening of HAI on the morning of March 1st, hopped on a plane to get home, and to get into Dublin. To get into Dublin before the airport was shut down due to the snowstorms. I got to work purely because I followed a snowplow all the way up the road to get to the rescue base. And the snowplow guy just traveled straight on by the rescue place and left me there. If I get a chance later on, I'll send you some pictures of because it's pretty unparalleled. It doesn't happen very often in Ireland. And the duty crew were there. That was it. When we came in, the first job was already started, and the weather really hit the deck that evening. And then the next morning, 5 a.m., off we went, and we didn't really stop until I think it was 4 in the afternoon of that day, and we'd swapped duty crew at the same time.
Wow.
The aircraft's an S-92, so when you're sitting it over a built-up area,
yeah,
you have to manage your downwash by height. You have to get up as high as you can, or as high as reasonably practical, because this thing has got a downwash it's pretty severe. With snow and all that, like, I flew 61 for 10 years. It's not a patch on the S61. The downwash is phenomenal. And I'm sure you've got Black Hawk time, so you know what that's like as well.
Yeah, so I've been under Blackhawks. I've been under 139s. I haven't been under a 225. I've been underneath that, which is very similar to the S92 as far as size wise. But yeah, it's impressive for sure. Yeah.
And the other thing, the ramp and straight into the back of the aircraft, and you've got the size then to be able to maneuver, walk around, treat people much easier when you're walking rather than you're on your knees. The 61 and the 92 gable stat. For us, it's the utility platform for search and rescue in the Northern Hemisphere, as far as we can see, and for Ireland. We're sitting on the Atlantic coast. Next stop, Newfoundland. So, our region stretches out to 200 miles west of Ireland, and all the way around through the middle of the Irish Sea between ourselves and the UK. So we find it the best platform available for what we want to do. And dual hoist, can't really beat that either. You've got that redundancy.
You've got the redundancy. Love having a dual hoist. We have a dual hoist on our 139 here. And I was using a dual hoist down in the Gulf of Mexico as well. I love it. Because I've been in the opportunity, or I was in the aircraft training, and we had the hoist fell out on us, and a guy was in the water. I was like, it's a good thing we have a backup hoist. And
yeah, absolutely. There's, I don't think anybody should be going out over the water, particularly at night, without a dual hoist system. Absolutely not. It's the standards have moved from, as I said at the start of our chat, the Alouette with the air-driven hoist. We're now on to, a dual hoist system, 290 feet usable cable, good speed, good load, high redundancy, great reliability, great reaction. And I think that's the gold standard or the benchmark for all-weather search and rescue. Particularly over the water and particularly at night, out of sight of land.
Awesome.
It is that's the way we see it anyway. And there are a couple of other little bits and pieces that the S92 gave us that day. Full RIPS, full rotor ice protection. So the ILS approach that you spoke about, the guys were coming back down through a fairly heavy snowstorm. So you've got your RIPS on, and the aircraft's doing all the hard work for you. You just lock onto that beam, and let the aircraft fly you down. And you've got your RIPS on, and you're not going to ice up it's not going to become a problem for you. Yeah. So they're all the things that the S92 gave us that day.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And actually, for everybody else out there, can you define what the RIPS are?
Yeah, it's a rotor ice protection system. So what it basically does is, if you're, I'll give you an example. We're in Dublin and we get a call at 2:00 in the morning, which we would get maybe once every quarter. And we would be asked to fly somebody to London, normally a child, for some form of liver or heart op or heart transplant. So they're all time critical. So we'll get the baby and the child, they'll hop onto the aircraft, and it's a 2-hour journey down, but the direct route straight over the mountains in Wales. And we can do that now. Otherwise, you would have to go coastal and add another 40 to 50 minutes to get into Heathrow in time for the ambulance to pick her up in time to go to the hospital. So that direct flight element of it is only possible due to the fact that we've got a rotor ice protection system whereby the aircraft will shed ice off the rotor system, off the tail rotor and off the blades, which, as anyone knows, icing on an aircraft on a flight control causes a change in dynamics, causes a weight change, and then you're into all sorts of hurt. So that's what RIPS does for us.
Nice. Perfect definition. The H60, we had that up in Alaska when I was flying up there. We did not have it down in the Gulf of Mexico on the 139, mainly because we didn't need it down there. And I don't currently have it on the aircraft that I fly now, because again, I'm flying in much hotter weather. But every place that I've been to that has cold, it's almost mandatory. The H60,
it is, it is almost mandatory.
Yeah. It's a game changer too, because if you don't have it on the aircraft, and like you said, when the aircraft starts icing up, it's a whole nother level. The whole aircraft starts to shake, and you're like, "What the heck?"
We had it we didn't have it in the S61. We had limited ice clearance, which was it would tell you are picking up ice, and at that stage, you had to basically have a block of air somewhere that you could descend into to get you out of that icing level. And it has happened once we got clear air icing, and pilot's flying along and he's pulling 60, 70, 65% torque to hold a certain airspeed and a certain altitude. And then all of a sudden he's pulling 70% and wondering what, and then very quickly goes, guys, we need a little ice probe out the side of the aircraft. He goes, guys, I want a heading now to get me clear of any high ground in front of us. And I need to get down. I need to drop at least 400 or 500 feet to get out of this icing. So, that's my experience of rotor icing in Ireland. I've had it limited and I've had it with it, and I'd much prefer it with it.
Holy cow. I love it. Man, that's awesome. Derek, one of the other things that you and I were talking about just before we started recording was it just so happens this is about the time of an anniversary for the helicopter 116 that we were referring to in all those rescues. They had a crash, and you have some of the details of that. And we're almost at that anniversary. Is that right?
Yeah, see how you go. So look, today is the anniversary of the Rescue 116 crash. So this day 4 years ago, I handed over to the duty crew, and it would be tonight Irish time at about 0046 that they crashed into a lighthouse off the west coast on a mission, on a support mission to another aircraft, and all 4 crew were lost. So today is actually the anniversary. It's the 4th anniversary. The 2 rescue crewmen in the back have never been found. The 2 pilots were found. The pilot in command was found on the surface that night, and the co-pilot, who was also an aircraft commander, was found, but had to be extracted out of the aircraft after about 9 days underwater. It's kind of ironic, me and you were talking about it now. That's why I didn't want to. It's not all about that either. But it is a small community, and it just shows that it doesn't. There are lessons to be learned in every operation. And I think when the final report comes out on this particular incident, I'll be sharing that with everybody I know, just so there's a pickup lesson learned there for everybody. That it's a fairly unique job we have, and when it goes wrong, it goes wrong. I think you know that yourself.
Yeah. We've always, there's a lot of people. We all have friends that we've lost, and I'm happy to be here still. I mean, I've had some incidents and training and
absolutely.
missions, and you're like, woo. So
yeah, absolutely. And I left work today, and the guys we were all kind of gathered, and we were having a chat and all the rest of it. But you do move on. You don't forget, but you definitely move on, and you take the lessons learned, and you make it a better place. And that's where we are at the moment. And that's the way it is with us.
Yeah. And like to even go a step further, not even a step further, I don't want to say that, but to take advantage of the bad things, it's training. Like, I cannot emphasize enough that people need to get as much training as they possibly can. And unfortunately for us, training is expensive. It's expensive to operate. It's expensive to fly a helicopter. For you guys, what is it? $5,000 to $7,000 an hour to fly your aircraft?
It's a big machine. We've got dedicated training hours there for us. Our customer realizes we need to train. Our company realizes it as well. Yeah. So they invest heavily in it. And we've got, I'm sure the dreaded word currency or recency. We've all these different skill sets, and there's only more of them coming along. But at the end of the day, I find I learn more on a job than I do, than most jobs you do. You learn a little bits of something off every single job, every single time.
I totally agree.
You have to have a mechanism to feed that back in to all of your guys. There's only 36 of us in Ireland on 4 bases. That's all there is. It's not a big operation here. There's 36 rescue crewmen, 36 pilots, 36 engineers, and some support staff. About 105 in total, 106. And we supply the entire country. Yeah, we're like the fourth.
I'll come hang out with you, and we'll make it like 36 and a half. I'll be like a half guy. Help you out.
Listen, the half. Where's the half guy? We need someone to go get the coffee.
It'd be worth it though. I'd totally hang out with you guys just for like half time.
Yeah, listen. Look, we have one American guy working with us, and we've actually had one guy now who's left us and gone to America to work down in the Gulf. Yep. So we get around, and I think the more you get around and meet people, the more you realize that it's a great job. It's a very unique job. You have to train for it. You have to take it for what it is, and a bit of straight talking every now and again never hurts anybody either.
No, I agree. It's fun, and for me, like I told you, it's fun for me to listen to these stories. I love every bit of them, from the training aspect to the real life rescue aspect to even just shooting the breeze over a couple beers. I'm with you. I love it. Love it.
It's yeah. Look, it's and again, I don't want to take up too much of your time. We could go on all evening. Guys rescuing everything from bales of cocaine to dogs to cats to you name it. We've done it all. That kind of way. And you never really know. You really do never know what's next. No,
you don't. Yeah,
and that's the unique part of it. No. There is no script. There's no script, and that's like. How long did you do up in Alaska? Did you do a year or 2 years up in Kodiak?
So I was in Kodiak for 3 years, and that's where I actually met Will. Will was in charge of me for a little while. He was also a great mentor. God. So yeah, I had a blast with Will. He's a super good guy. Right. But I was up there for 3 years. I got a couple really good cases out of there. Some that came with a good write-up, and other ones that I just remember as like, wow, that's going to stand out to me for later, mountain rescues and then pulling guys off, out of shacks and boats and, cruise ships.
There's a lot of backcountry up there. There's a lot of mountains and stuff. And I don't think that gets a lot of recognition. I would think, I'd say, because of obviously, TV and the Deadliest Catch and things. People just think that's the way. But your backcountry rescues, because I did see a guy present about them. And they are tough. You are out there. You're right up there, and it's
we are
anything. You are absolutely. I've seen a few of those things, and they're well worth looking at for what they are. You're in the middle of nowhere.
So I had actually a rescue up there off one of the mountains, and it wasn't like I say it was a mountain. It was kind of a mountain. It was a mountain if you're on the West Coast, but if you're on the East Coast of like the U.S., it's more of a Well, no, sorry. If you're on the East Coast, it's a mountain. If you're on the West Coast, it was kind of a bigger hill. All right.
Yeah.
But some guys got lost and his blood sugar like crashed. And so we get on scene and I end up hiking up to him, and the helicopter had left to get out of the mountain pass that we were in. And I get on the radio. I'm like, okay, I got this guy. I'm ready for pickup. And the helicopter comes back. It's like, where are you? I'm like, what do you mean? Where am I? I'm the same place you left me. They said, yeah, pop a flare. Yeah, exactly. They're like, you need to pop a flare or something. And I'm like, okay, pop the flare. They're like, oh, gotcha. We're in the wrong pass. They come over the mountain into the pass I was in. I was like, oh God, oh, that's awesome.
But when you look at the landscape, absolutely. It just once you make one turn in low light in an aircraft and you try and find your way back to that particular spot, it better be in the RNAV system, because you will end up losing it, and you'll end up going, excuse me, I've often had people go out there, take your jacket off and start waving it, because they're actually going the wrong direction. And you're on the radio, I'm in your 2 o'clock position, lads, you've gone straight by me. All right, okay, sorry, we were just looking at a place to land. Where? 6 miles away. So yeah, look, it's great that you guys get around. You get reposted all over the place, and you get to see different environments. I'm in Dublin now for the last 23 years almost, and even today I go, geez, I've never been here before. Where am I? Or I've never seen that house before. Or I've never seen this. Honestly, that's the way it is with us. And people say, "Oh, local knowledge. You should know that where that is." Yeah, okay, fair enough. Where's the nearest big town? Where's the nearest big town to it? Oh yeah, it's up that way. Fine, I know the direction. Just go that way, and we'll get it.
Yeah,
that's kind of all the fancy stuff, all the RNAV stuff. You just take a lot long. Plug it in, get the map out, show it to me on a map. I want to see it on a piece of paper.
That's right. Make a left of the oak tree and just past the wishing well. You'll find it.
I tell you that on the Storm Emma stuff, it was IFR. I follow road, I follow rail. We were following roads, we were following railway tracks, because you just had to get back to that kind of the pilots will tell you they had to get back to that real down dirty hand flying, because it wasn't plug it in and go from A to B. It had to be, A to B via Z, because you had to get around stuff and you had to maneuver and you had to look at the weather radar and look at what's in front of you and try and figure it out. So they all kind of got a lot out of that as well as ourselves, and it was a really good couple of days worth of work for something that doesn't happen very rarely. Every 20 years you get that type of snowstorm here in Ireland. Now you get the wet and the wind every other week. Yeah, it is. It is actually. This has been a long winter and a very wet winter as well.
Yeah.
So it's not over yet.
Well, It's almost over.
Go.
Wait, it's almost over. It's March. It better almost be over.
Oh no, we tend to see the end of it around the end of March. Next 2 to 3 weeks, hopefully, we'll see a little bit of a change. Hopefully.
Well, here's hoping, man. I hope it gets better for you.
Here's hoping, indeed, Jason. Here's hoping.
Well, Derek, thank you so much for coming on and sharing this with me. The floor is yours if you want to give me any other stories or anything else that you think of.
Well, I suppose what we started off with would be the unique community that we both work in. And as I said to you at the start before we were recording, I think where I got into understanding everyone else's operation was through networking at Goodrich Hoist User Conference. It puts me in front of or me with guys who work other government contracts who are military, or you guys in the States, which is varied, whether it be police and sheriff departments, whether it be state asset. Everyone is exactly the same. And, regardless of the platform, once you've got a hoist and a guy on the wire, you need to know your training is there. You need to know your competencies are there, and you need to trust your kit and trust your pilot. They were the main takeaways from all of the discussions and all of the, beer drinking basically that I had when I was over there and meeting the guys. I've done it 2 or 3 times, and I couldn't recommend it highly enough to anyone to reach out to Goodrich to get an invite to go to that particular event.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. They do have a great conference every year. It is too bad that it was canceled this year. I look forward to the next one for sure. But
absolutely.
So hold on, I got a question about this because you mentioned beer drinking. Because you're an Irishman, did you drink everybody under the table? That's all I need to know.
Well, if you're talking to any of our mutual friends, they'll tell you I have a tradition. Basically, they've asked me to present a few times. So I've done a few presentations for Goodrich, and I've got up and I've given a presentation, but I've always had a bottle of whiskey with me. And what we'll do is we put the bottle of whiskey up. I put the bottle of whiskey up, and everyone focuses on the bottle of whiskey. And I said, then I take the bottle of whiskey away, and I said, now watch my PowerPoint. There'll be a question. You get the question right, you win the whiskey. So that's how you keep people's attention. And what we did the first year was we shamed the person into opening the bottle at the break, and we drank the bottle all in the one go. So that kind of became a bit of a tradition. And if I get back there again and I present it again, that's exactly what I'll do. I think a friend of ours, Will, he won the last bottle, and in fairness to the guy, he cracked it. We went at it. Everybody got a little sip, and that was it.
You know what? I have no doubt Will won it just because it's Will. I love that guy.
Because he's a good guy. Will is solid, and the invite's there for him as well when he passes through Ireland. Hook up and bring you out for a couple of beers into a couple of real pubs and see how you like it.
Well, I assure you, my friend, you will definitely be seeing me out in Ireland. I'm sure of that.
Yeah. I'll send you home with a hangover.
Oh, absolutely, perfect.
No problem.
Love it. I love it.
So yeah, that invite's there.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Again, thank you so much for coming on. And on that note, everybody, he's out of here. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Real ResQ podcast. Please take a minute and, as my daughters like to tell me all the time, like and subscribe. Oh yeah, I appreciate it. So I'm pulling chocks and taking off. But before I go, if anyone out there has a rescue story and would be willing to share it, I would be humbled and honored to have you as a guest. Or if you have any questions about rescue or anything else here that we talk about, please send me an email at therealresq@gmail.com. That's TheRealResQ@gmail.com. Or you can also check us out on our Instagram page at The Real ResQ, and that's at TheRealResQ. And for all of you standing the watch today, remember, when that SAR alarm goes off, those in distress are praying for a miracle. They are going to get you. Until next time, stay safe out there, everybody.